because we're SLCs, so I'm in the Choice Academy, so we're in small learning communities. You see down our hall, we had all those flags.
Yeah.
So we are a global, social, and environmental flavor to our education, to our teaching. And so we do we try to involve a lot of projects, like little small projects here and there that might take 2 or 3 days, where I haven't been able to work it out so that I can actually take a day to say, hey, here, view all the podcasts today. Mm-hmm. We're just constantly going and going. So I just have to kind of work out that schedule.
This is going on a bit of a tangent, but I do a field experience at a middle school science classroom. Uh-huh. There's one student that I'm focusing on in particular who would be considered a low achieving student. Mm-hmm. And one class, he had his head down on his desk, so the teacher had me walk him down to the nurse, and we found out that he hadn't slept at all the night before.
Right.
And hadn't eaten breakfast. Yep. So the nurse gave him breakfast, and he was going to gym the next period, so we were hoping that would wake him up. But on the walk back to class, he was talking about how he doesn't think that science is important. Right. So do you have any advice on how to stress to the students that learning base level science, because a lot of his interest, I asked him what he wanted to be. He has interest in becoming a Navy SEAL. Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, nuclear.
I know.
Nuclear submarine.
And I asked him, I was like, okay, so think, what if you get to basic, you don't like it, and you drop out of basic because it's not what you want to do, what do you want to do now? And he said, well, I want to be a mechanic. And I was like, both of these things mm-hmm. require high levels of science.
Sure.
And so I tried to mention that to him, but I don't know if he really got it.
Sure.
So sort of, what's your advice? What do you do?
You do have to get the buy-in from the students. They have to buy into you as the teacher, and that'll be easier once you have your own house, your own classroom, your own students. You try and make the learning and the content meaningful and relevant. And sometimes that's very difficult to do. But I like to show, like, for example, NBC.com or NBCLearns.com, they have short videos. So, for example, like the physics of football, the physics of hockey. Mm-hmm. I like to show, the chemistry of a cheeseburger. And they go through, like, the bun and the cheese and just any little thing you can throw in. Mm-hmm. And then you ask the students what their interests are. So maybe his interest was, Navy SEAL. So you work, if you're going to give problems, like in the high school level, you work problems, based on, like, a basketball or mechanics, like with torque, or, you talk about a certain car. Any word you can mention that gets them to think, oh, wow, she has been listening to me, and then how does it apply? So it's really just making it meaningful and relevant. Yeah.
And I've also heard other teachers say that if you build a strong enough relationship that they care about you, not necessarily about the subject, but they'll want to then impress you and please you. So
and that's all about building that. That takes the first couple weeks, but you talk about the respect level between both of you. You and the class and you. And I always like to tell them what my interests are, and if they say something that's their interest, I go, you know what, that's super cool. Tell me about it. And or tell us about it. Take a minute and, tell the class. Yeah. Even that 1 minute could make a huge difference.
Just making it seem like their interests are important.
Yeah. And I always give every student a birthday card on their birthday.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. That helps too.
So, looping back to flipped classroom,
okay.
How do you think that since you've implemented your flipped classroom, you've been able to have stronger relationships with your students because there's more interaction?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Because then instead of standing up there, I can come around and sit at a chair and talk like this. There's
sort
an
of
issue.
Brings you down.
That's right. There's an issue even with, if a student and I are having an issue, I will actually get down to their level so that I'm not a tall person, but it's always there's like a level, a domination thing, and then you don't want to fight battles that don't need to be fought.
Right.
So it's literally just, I'm going to talk to you like an adult. Let's hash this out. Yeah. So that always helps too. And so I'm able to do that, and I'm able to sit, at a group, and then I can go sit at this group, and then I can go sit at this group. So, yeah.
Good. Okay. Do you have advice for a first-year teacher who wants to implement a flipped classroom their very first year? Because a lot of what I've heard are teachers who have taught for many years, they've got a whole lesson plan book full of ideas that they just have to convert.
Yeah.
So do you think it would be more difficult, easier to implement it your very first year teaching?
Yeah, I would think, because you're going to be doing, truth be told, you're going to be doing so much work your first year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to get all these activities and ideas. It would absolutely be easier to implement your first year, because you're already doing the work.
Yeah.
So
you're just doing it in a different way.
You're just doing it a different way. Absolutely. You're just doing it a different way. Absolutely. And the first semester for my Chem 2 students, I actually do podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to searching YouTube and SchoolTube and, TED Ed and all that. And there are so many good videos that people have already done.
Yes.
Right? And so if they're on the free market, so like, for example, this gas laws chapter that you saw up there, so they have learning targets. They actually have YouTube clips to watch. And so I found the best things that normally I would spend time in class showing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's 8 minutes of class I've wasted.
Right.
Where they could just watch it at home, take notes, and then we can really delve into it. So the second semester, they actually do the links for the YouTube videos and then other podcasts that other teachers have created that I found. And then at the end of the year, I try to get some feedback. So last year I got some feedback, and the students liked when they had to go to the YouTube videos first and didn't necessarily like my podcast because they're boring. They're podcasts. But that's what notes are. Notes are boring, sometimes. So I'm going to get some feedback this year and see what they think too. And then, maybe intermix it some more from first semester and second semester.
I actually just watched a TED Talk by a man named Ramsey something.
Okay.
And he was mentioning how in a flipped classroom sometimes your instruction is just as boring, or it's just a lecture that's done outside of class, which you still have the benefit of the teacher being there while they're actually working the problems. But his argument was that that's still not that much better than a regular classroom. So with the new, with the videos and the podcasts that other teachers have made, would you say that that's a step up from what you were able to
Absolutely, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, and some of those teachers have some pretty nice technology, and they've spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know what? If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
And I have 4 lab preps, so I'm really you just grab and go, and that's what teaching is all about. It's about sharing, and it's about collaboration, and it's just grab and go, and add it to what you need.
Mm-hmm. That's actually one of my questions down here is how do you network with other teachers? Where do you get your information? Do you have people that you communicate with constantly about your lessons to get feedback?
Well,
either within the school or within the state or the country, wherever.
Okay. Not necessarily about actual, maybe lessons, daily lessons, but I go to Hasty, which is the Hoosier Association of Science Teachers.
Okay.
So you'd want to become a member of Hasty if you're in Indiana. The NSTA, I'm a member of the NSTA, and there's always listservs. And then the nice thing is you put your email in there, so you just get an email, and you can kind of see, do I really like this? No. If it's worth my time, then I'll not print it off. Okay. They send you magazines, like NSTA sends you a magazine. There's all kind of cool lesson ideas there. Presenting at Hasty, going to Hasty conference, going to the NSTA conference, networking that way. AAPT, the American Association of Physics Teachers. Okay. We just had the conference, actually the regional conference here at Decatur last weekend. Wow. And so I presented there. And just hearing other presentations, that's really where you network. Okay. You might network in the building, but for us, the science teacher down the hall is teaching a different flavor, so they're going to have different activities because let's say he's in ICE, which is Imagine, Create, and Express. So they have artful learning that they do. Okay. So his lessons and my lessons are going to look totally different. Now, they're both going to learn stoichiometry, but how they learn it's different. Yeah. So it's tough to collaborate that way. Yeah. So really, I collaborate, we get observed, so I do get feedback with our observations from our director and our department chair. So really just getting into the memberships. NSTA, Hasty, AAPT for physics, there's ACS for chemistry, so those kind of things. And you go to those conferences once or twice a year. Armstrong has been a great network, actually. That's been really, really fun. So, yeah. So you just kind of get yourself out there and you just network that way. Because you don't want to feel alone. On a daily basis, you're just here.
Yeah.
And you just go, go, go.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not ever
But
talk.
you've got a whole network of
You
backup.
do. Yes, you do.